It is that time, a new month. We've got a new graphic for a free Series 3 card selection. This is primarily for you newer players, but for all you experienced players, please comment below. What do I have right?
Nothing!
What do I have wrong?
Everything. Everything.
Where am I way off? I typically focus these on the new season card or maybe a meta that I might see happening this upcoming month. Obviously, sometimes it's hard to predict with OTAs, etc. But I think with Elsa, there's definitely some sort of prototypes that you're going to lean into. So we're going to talk about that. In the graphic, we've got 3 sections. We've got the must buy, the should buy, and the maybe buy. The way this is typically set up is that if you really need a card, it's in must buy. Should buy probably means that you've got most of those must buys covered. Then with maybe buy, it's a section that maybe it's a certain archetype you really want to play. You've got all the ones above, that sort of thing. These can be tough depending on your collections, playstyle, etc. But it's an idea for help guiding you. And again, this is meant to be something for the upcoming season with Elsa coming along and a situation where you're going to want to try to fill your lanes with cards and get that extra 3 points. All right, so let's dive in. So we're going to start with our maybe buy section. We're going to start off super close and then we're going to go to a zoom out so you guys can all check it out. Got to get my big mug out of your way. But I think, spoiler alert, you can see who's behind me. It's our sweet girl, Arrow. Yeah, I can't take her off the list yet. You know, it's sad. I wish she was better. She's just not right now. All right, so then we've got Cerebro. He has moved down a little bit. I think it's still a pretty solid card. I had some fun with him playing with Morbius, Ravana, etc. Pretty solid. It is a little bit lower for an archetype card, but I did have it removed and then brought it back last month decently high. And then I think for next month, it's probably going to fall off a little bit. Black Bolt's still on the list to potentially get stature out there, but I think that could arguably fall off. I have Lockjaw pretty low, and I do want to say thank you to Glazer and Seth. I threw some ideas for this at them. They gave some comments back. I took some of them. I ignored some of them. That's just me being me and wanting to put something out specifically. So I do want to give them some credit for at least giving some opinions. I am not going to say they're associated with the graphic because they're probably going to be like, I didn't say Lockjaw should be that low. You're out of your mind. Don't associate me with that. So anyway, having said that, I think Lockjaw has fallen off quite a bit. Could he be higher? Maybe. Is there a spot for him in this Elsa thing? Maybe. We'll see. Spider-Man, I dropped quite a bit. I think he's still a really good card. I struggled putting him this low. Same with Magneto. And honestly, even same with Invisible Woman. But I think that coming up, I think you're not necessarily going to see a lot of things going on with this. Now, Werewolf by Night, if you're focusing on that, maybe we're talking a little something different. But I really want to focus these Series 3s with the Season Pass because I think most Series 3 players are more likely to get that Season Pass as opposed to some of those newer Series 5, etc. Magneto, strong card. I just honestly had to drop him. You don't see him a lot. I think he moves some things around, but I'm not ready to have him up higher compared to some other ones. Invisible Woman, she's great for hiding things. I think she's really, really popular right now. But for next month, maybe. I mean, maybe you want to hide an Elsa, but in the decks that I've been playing with and looking at for Elsa, I'm not sure there's room for her quite yet, but we'll see. Obviously, Psylocke got OTA'd. She's a 2/2 now. Once the artwork gets updated, I'll throw it in there. She's good. I mean, I do like her in some of the decks with Elsa to potentially bring out a cheaper Sarah or something like that. So right now, I've just got her as a maybe buy, nothing higher yet, even at a 2/2. Rock Slide, he's always going to be a solid maybe buy. He was should buy last month, and I moved him down this month because just I'm not sure it's going to be a Dark Hawk type of month. Valkyrie arguably could be lower than Rock Slide, but I really did like Valkyrie with the Cerebro. And so I've just kind of left her in this section for a long time as far as the maybe buy. Ultron. Now, I did debate having Ultron higher because of what's happening with Elsa, but you don't get the pluses with him. With Elsa, you've got to play the card. So like, I don't know if I'm ready to say anything like that. He could come into play a little bit if you kind of sync up Elsa with me, the Patriot Phil type deck. Luke Cage, I keep dropping. He's a good card, but restricting those negative effects becomes less and less important lately. Could you have him in there? Sure, maybe. Destroyer, great destroy card. He's really, really strong, especially when you've got a Cosmo lane and something built up or armor / Professor X lane that's not going to get destroyed by him, and you just drop him down on turn 6. Most cards aren't going to beat him solo on a lane. He's really, really good. Rogue, stealing somebody's ongoing effects. Just a really good card. Arguably could be higher. Shadow King I had higher, but a lot of that had to do with Collector. And Collector's been nerfed a little bit. I'm not, same with Loki, with Mobius coming out. That's why you see Agent Coulson and Nick Fury in this row as well. I'm just thinking, you know what, these cards might come down a little bit this month. So I didn't want to have them in that higher section as we sort of forecast into what we think is going to happen. Red Skull, he's just been here for a while. No changes, solid card. I still think he could use a little bit of a buff, but he's a tough card because if you buff him too much, he will be everywhere. All right, next up. Should buy. Let's squeeze all the way down to the right. You get some spoilers along the way. First one is Zola. Solid card, good. You get pretty strong cards that you can move around a little bit, and I think Zola is a part of that. He can definitely take people by surprise, but you do need to leave a lane typically with just one card, but and it can be high risk, high reward. Sauron is a consistently strong card with that Red Skull, Typhoid Mary type deck, Ebony Maw, all of those type of things ongoing in general. It's just a really, really good card. He actually was higher, but I moved him down a bit because I just wanted to move other cards up for this upcoming October month, and it was just hard to leave him where he is. Electro, great ramp card, pretty simple. Now, Galactus took a huge hit. You know, do you still have Electro this high? I mean, Electro's not just for Galactus, but man, Magic, I dropped her down a bit. She was super, super hot when she got that change to her OTA. She's fallen off a little bit. Still a really good card. And I think if you need to get extends and turns, she's fantastic for that. But right now, I've got her pulled down. Now, I've moved up Thor and Jane Foster. I think that with these cards, I could see them playing in with Elsa. I'm not going to get into the decks quite yet, but I think you probably know where I'm going with that. So I moved them up into should buy. Depending how it plays out, would I have maybe wanted them higher? Maybe. We'll see. But I think they're definitely worthy of at least this section. Moving to the top row, which are ranked a little bit higher. Wong, just a solid staple Series 3 card for all those on reveals. Absorbing Man, again, I think he's doing a lot of dirty work all over the place in all sorts of different decks. I moved him up. I like him a lot. Super Scroll, same thing. Not around a lot right now, but when the ongoings take over, Super Scroll comes out to put them back in their place, honestly. It just happens all the time. Dracula, still a great discard card. And I like to have him in this top row. Now, I've moved Taskmaster up quite a bit. Glazer convinced me of this one a bit. And I had it just a little lower, but he really does fit all over the place. So I wanted to move him up. I think he's a great card. You copy a lot of different things, whether it's, you know, Red Skulls or Kitties, etc. He's a great thing to sort of copy. So I did want to move him up. Daredevil, I had him in must buy forever. I really did. Could he go back up in must buy? Yeah, I think he could. Right now, I've got him pretty close to that, so I feel pretty solid on that. Now, Leader, I've re-added. Now, mainly, maybe I'm jaded a little bit, or maybe not jaded, but biased. With the Mobius and Wave stuff, he's a great card to have in that deck. It's gotten me a lot of wins. Now, you've got to make sure you're within 2, or, you know, you're going to within 1 or, you know, 0 or higher in a lane to guarantee the win, but it's almost guaranteed to win. My favorite play with this card right now is having priority and somebody Eliathing that lane, and I take their Eliath with Leader and Eliath their Eliath. I did it several times today. It's a lot of fun. Juggernaut, he's just a great manipulation card, tech card that you can move people around. I put Beast back a little bit higher. Could be wrong about this, but I have a feeling Bounce is going to be talked about again very, very soon. We'll see. Coming up with some decks, but I had to put him on here for that reason. So he is right in front of the must buy section, and that is where we're sliding to next. All right, we're gonna make it so that it's a little less spoilery on the must buys. It's just the top row right now. Death, she's still a good card, good, solid. You know, Destroy out there a lot. You know, she could honestly drop a little bit depending on Morbius, so that really becomes a lot weaker card. I could see her falling off of this. I probably easily convinced to move her down. Quinjet, even with the Mobius coming in and Loki not being as strong, I think Quinjet's still worthwhile to have up here in this section. I moved Brood and Patriot up, again, via some suggestions, and I think that they're probably good enough to be staples here. Maybe not necessarily just for October, but just solid staples. Patriot's always around, always doing decent work. Is it the best? Is it always the most consistent? Not necessarily. Brood is all over the place with Surfers, Absorbing Man copies, Patriots, etc. Even these Bast, which I'm going to get to in a second. It's good. Bast, I think, is a card that's going to absolutely come into play with a critical sequence with Elsa. I think she's just an awesome, awesome good card. Wasp, I have this high. You're probably like, wait, wasn't that like, you know, several months ago when Jane Jaw was a big deal? It was, but I think she's going to come back. I think the ability to fill lanes is going to be a big deal, and zero cost cards are going to be a big deal. So for that reason, I've got her on there. And then Surfer. Surfer's the last card I've got on this bottom row of must buy. He's just a good solid staple card for any must buys. He gets a lot of work. He's not out there as much, but still pretty good. All right, last row. She-Hulk keeps dropping. She keeps dropping. I really thought that the Morbius wave thing was going to help with this. It doesn't. She's just sort of like, okay, she doesn't really do anything. So her and Death, not really a thing for that Doom wave type thing. But Doom, however, is moving up in my mind. Doom is all over the place again. I don't think they should nerf him. He's fine as is. I think a 6/5 for him is the perfect spot for a 6 cost card. You know, it's just, it feels good to play Doom. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's not great. Yeah, he might be everywhere because it's a good flexible card. I think 6/4 was just sort of like, eh. Mystique, copying those ongoings is just critical. Anytime you're Devil Dinoing, you're Patrioting, anything, Iron Man, all that sort of thing, you want the Mystique. I've always gonna have her in this top row. She's just a great, great card. Shuri, still fantastic. You want to double everything, that's going to happen with Shuri. I think there's going to be some decks with her. I think the reason that Kitty got touched is because some of the things with potentially bounce with Shurity into this Elsa thing, where I think you could have gotten some really stupid, maybe not stupid high, but pretty a consistently stupid high number with Kitty. Next up, Wave. Wave's just killing it. Still, she's not gone. The combo with Morbius is huge. Like, yes, with Morbius, is he made her weaker? Yeah. But if you can combine those and someone else doesn't have a Morbius, good night. Just straight good night. So for that reason, I've got to leave her high. And then still at the top of the list of must buy, I've got Sarah. And I think there's a chance that Sarah could still play into some of these Elsa decks too. I'm not fully convinced of that yet. I need to see if it's a little bit too clunky. But I think as far as a Series 3 card goes, she's pretty solid. She could be quickly left off that. But I like the cost reduction. We all talk about cost reduction. At 5 costs, it is tough. So ideally, we talked about earlier, you know, a card like maybe Psylocke. You try to Psylocke on 3, Sarah on 4, especially now that Psylocke's a 2/2. It's a little bit better. It's, you know, a solid thing to pull off. So that's what we got. Now, typically what we do is we add a card each month because of the meta. Like, well, this is what's going to happen. So we think these cards are going to be on here because there's 2 cards I'm going to add to this that I think could come into play fairly dramatically. One for sure. The second one, maybe. One of the folks was like, that's way too high. You're out of your mind. Maybe they didn't say you're out of your mind, but I think they thought it, and I don't blame them for it. But the first one we're going to put on here, Dazzler. Yeah, Dazzler. I'm putting Dazzler in the must-buy section. I think that she's going to be a fun card to play with Elsa. I think she's absolutely going to be affecting the meta a little bit because you're going to be trying to fill those lanes, and she gets cost or power benefits along with that. So is it high? Maybe. We'll see, but I'm glad I'm going to have her. If you're really like a new Series 3 player and you're like, oh my God, I don't have any of these, you know, you can wait a little bit and see, but it's something to think on. And then the last one, which is for sure going to work really well with Elsa, it's a combination of Elsa, Fast, and Mysterio. So Mysterio is the only card that plays extra cards and doesn't add them. He plays them. So those illusions, if they're used to fill those lanes, will get the, or they should, we're predicting, will get the Elsa bonus. So if you Bass them, they're 3. If you Elsa them, they're 6. So that is a 212, 4, you know, 216, like 218. Like, I don't think they all get, well, no, yeah, it would be a 218. That's in a 218. Like, what are we talking about right now? That's insane. So Mysterio, he's got to be there. You've got to have him. Unless they change something here, that is just going to be a straight bonkers type play. It's going to be a must-have. It's going to be all over the place for a 2-cost card to add 6, 6, and 6. It's the Devil's card. That's what it is. It is the Devil's card, and you're going to want to be the Devil when this thing comes out and strong, because that is a huge play. Plus, you've got 4 more power to play with that turn. It's, yeah, so strap up those hit monkeys, all that sort of thing when Elsa comes around. That's why I made some of the comments I mentioned earlier. I think you're going to want to start with something like that and work into a deck, because that is an insane finish for pretty cheap. Now, is it possible to get waived? Yeah, but we have an answer to that now, and I highly recommend looking into that answer as well. So let me know what your thoughts are on this guide. I know these things are typically, I don't want to say controversial, but there's a lot of different hot takes on it. I want to hear your hot takes below. What's way off? What's on target? Something that you want to change? Let me know below. Also, what do you think is going to happen this upcoming month? Again, I primarily focused on Elsa. I understand there's more cards, Nico, Werewolf by Night, Man Thing, etc. But wanted to focus on the season pass card for any of those who are more likely to be worrying about what Series 3 cards to get. So appreciate you making this far. If you want to hammer down that like button, appreciate that. If you want to further support the channel, man, subscribe, comment. Helps with the YouTube algorithm. Always appreciate that. Until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day.